This is Mr. Work Smarter, and welcome to another episode of Work Smarter Talks. I've got a special guest today with me, my good friend Andy. Honestly, it's a pleasure to be able to speak to you today. He's not just only a good friend, but honestly, this guy is one of the smartest guys that I actually know in my network. And I know a lot of top people, whether that's CEOs, executives and top professionals. This guy, honestly, is so intelligent, and if you don't know him, make sure you get to know him. Funny enough, we actually met back at university, but prior to that, we actually lived in the same area, Tottenham, and we did not even connect so well, but we know the same people, which is very strange. But we met at university, and we actually started our entrepreneurial journey by starting a company called Safern. Yeah, you still remember that? And he's actually set up his first company called Mixtape Madness. He co-founded, and honestly, it's doing amazing stuff. It's got millions of views on YouTube. I'll add a link to the description below so you can check it out. And now he's a product manager at WordFirst, that's correct. Yeah. And on top of that, he actually helps entrepreneurs, not just because he actually writes a lot of articles on a weekly basis where he takes them through real steps that they can apply straight away to either grow their business, manage their business, and feel free to add to it, but I know I'm kind of speaking for you at the moment, but he does so many great things, and he also actually helps them acquire loans for their business. So if you're a startup, this is the guy you want to be able to reach out to. So Andy, thank you for turning up. I know I've done an introduction. Well, feel free to add anything to that. So tell little people about yourself and like who you are, because I know I gave an introduction, but I want to give you that opportunity to kind of add to that.
Sure. So like Dennis mentioned, we met at university originally, and since then I've always kind of been really curious about entrepreneurship and what entrepreneurship is. And fortunately for me, over the last 5 years of my career, I've had the benefit of really traveling across the world, spending significant time in Silicon Valley and San Francisco, working with startups, VCs, and really getting to grips with what entrepreneurship actually is. And along that journey, I've been blessed enough to run my own company with Mixtape Madness. I exited about 3 years ago, but it's still doing very well today with deals with the likes of Spotify. I think 100 million streams on SoundCloud. There are influencers on that platform, 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Yeah. So it's still going strong today without me, and that's testament to the team who's doing a great job. And now really I'm a product manager during my daytime at WordFirst, like you mentioned, which is a London-based fintech. And what that really means in a sentence is that I help manage the life cycle of a product, from whether it's just at an idea stage through to executing and growing that product internationally. So more recently, I was sharing with Dennis before the interview, I travelled to China and Hong Kong to really meet our customer base out there and do some testing, but I'm sure we'll touch upon that during the conversation today.
So how many countries have you actually travelled? Because mate, I think we're competing, but I think you're winning at the moment, because every time we're always travelling, but I feel like you're in the lead. How many countries?
Yeah, I had to renew my passport the other day actually. I think I've done about 43 in the last 5 years now.
That's crazy. And what would you say is the one thing that you can say, like, regardless of the investment someone makes to go on holiday, what was one of the most valuable things that you get from your holidays?
I think just even the benefit of really like feeding your curiosity. So when you're curious about something, scratch your own itch, go and do something about it. So for me, it was really getting out of my comfort zone, getting out of the borders of Tottenham, really to experience life outside of Tottenham, and that's what really saw me traveling initially. Yeah. So I backpacked, I think, across South America for about 3 months. And that was kind of my first big adventure outside of Tottenham. At first I thought I was crazy, what am I doing? But actually that was like a real eye-opening experience, which has shaped a lot of who I am today. And more recently, about 2-3 years ago, I backpacked similarly, camping across East Africa for a month with my brother and a friend. And it was so good to share that experience with people that were close to me.
That's amazing. And I know you're an early bird. You wake up early. I must say I'm not an early bird, but you wake up very early. Can you walk us through your morning ritual, please?
Yeah, for me personally, I'm a morning person, and the morning is the one time of the day where I can feel like I can be proactive before my day turns really reactive. So during the morning, there's 3 things that I really kind of do every morning where possible. One is to try and pray and be spiritual about kind of getting my day off to the right start. I'm a believer in God, so that's who I turn to start off my day. Secondly, is to really take in some information. So either I'm reading a book or I'm listening to a podcast. Girlfriend's not a big fan of that sometimes, but I'm an avid listener to so many podcasts, so I try and take that in during the morning as well. And then thirdly, where possible, I try and do a little bit of exercise, because as soon as I get into work, my day is really just reactive, and I'm responding to emails, responding to meetings, and I'm more in the reactive stage. So I like during that proactive stage at the beginning of my morning to really take advantage of that and really do things to me and what I really want to do, get my day started off right.
Okay, and what would you say is your biggest distraction normally? Like, what normally stops you? You're like, I'm procrastinating. It's distracting you. Is there anything that normally stops you?
That's a good question. I think sometimes actually I'm a bit too deep as a thinker. Like, I think too much, and sometimes my thoughts can run a little bit wild. So, for example, I'm a product manager at work, and sometimes I spend too much time in the problem space, exploring how much of a problem or pain point it is for what customers. And sometimes I struggle to then execute on those ideas and move into that execution phase sooner. And I guess that's a gift and a curse, because there's other people on the other hand that really overrate ideas and undervalue execution, and therefore they're flirting with ideas, they're printing on business cards, they're buying the logos, they're buying the websites, but they haven't really got a solid business behind that. Whereas I like to spend a lot of time really understanding that problem before even developing or building a business.
No, you touched on a very good point, because honestly, when you plan, some people can overplan and you end up not actually getting anything accomplished. So for me, I'm a big believer, just start it, whether that you may not have all the information that you need or you may need to speak to, just start it, and at least you can make progress as you go along. Because I've noticed that people love to sit around and think, oh yeah, I need this information, or I can't do this because I don't have that, but really it's just about doing it. Yeah, so thanks for sharing that information. What do you think, if I was to ask you, because I haven't asked anyone this, but I'm going to ask you first, what do you think some of the key characteristics of someone that's highly productive?
I think really people have to understand what that definition of productivity really is, and it's about using the allotted time that you have to the best of your ability. So it doesn't matter the fact that you go to the gym. What matters is what you do while you're at the gym. And I see time in that time frame as well. So for example, I'm employed by World First. Therefore, between those hours that I'm exchanging my time for money. Therefore, their return on that time is the value that I bring to that organization. So for me, I see time really linear to how productive you are. What do you do with the time that you're given?
Yeah.
And I guess that's it for me.
But what would you say is some of the things that productive people do? Because I see you as someone that's very highly productive. You're always getting things done. When I'm around you, you're always doing things. And what would you say are some of them characteristics?
I think one of the key characteristics is that planning aspect of things, so understanding what you're going to do with your time.
Okay.
So for example, before I walk into a working day, I understand what my schedule is looking like and what I need to get done before my working day is over. In the same way, when I was working on my business ideas outside of work, I was limited in the time that I had. So I really had to be strategic and prioritize what I did with the limited hours that I had. I had to focus on only the most important aspects of what I had to address. I couldn't just really flirt with the idea, Google, go left, right and center. I had to be really strategic and focused with that time.
Okay, thank you for that. And you're a very tech savvy person. Is there any tools that you use to help manage your day, or it helps you to get things done? Is there any tools that you may want to share?
Yeah, there's various tools I use. I'm a big user of Wunderlist, just for little shopping lists, little lists that I share with my girlfriend and my family. Trello, when I'm working on new ideas, just for simple boards that I create, almost like a public roadmap, like companies like Buffer and Monzo will share the links after, I guess. So that's a simple board where I'll look at what is in my to-do list versus in progress versus done. I'm a big user of the Google Suite, so Google Productivity Suite, everything from Gmail through to Google Drive, due to the collaboration productivity software like Docs, Slides, all of those kind of stuff.
No, thanks for that. You get more than those.
And Evernote. Evernote's the last one actually, because whenever I'm on my commutes, for example, in the morning, and an article or an idea could come to me almost like a poem by the sky, and I just capture it with an Evernote wherever I can before I go into actually using Medium or LinkedIn to publish and post.
No, fantastic. So my next question to you is, what's been your craziest 24 hours? And it doesn't have to be business related, it could be anything. Like, look back at your life, when has you thought, oh my days, that was crazy when you look back at it?
About 3 years ago, it's hard to say the craziest, but about 3 years ago when I was traveling across East Africa with my brother and a good friend of mine, we were driving through the Serengeti, which is basically wildland where all of these animals live. We've just seen like the biggest elephant we've seen in our life, and the car just stops. We're asking what's going on, and to our left we see almost just a herd of buffalo, and to our right we see one buffalo singled out with about 3 lions circling it, and the buffalo is literally fighting for its life while the vans and the cars are separating the buffalo tribe from the buffalo that's being eaten by the lion. And it sounds crazy to hear this now, but to see that in person as opposed to seeing it on National Geographic on TV, it's just a different experience. In the end, the buffalo got away actually, which was good, but it was just interesting to see that hunt live and direct and to see the power of a lion in prowess.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for sharing that story. And my last question to you then is, you've been through a lot, and there's obviously growing up in Tottenham, listen, we both know like there's a lot of distractions, temptation, high rate of crime, and you can get into the wrong crowd, and you know what I mean, you can go downwards. But you know what, you've come out of that and made something out of yourself, and I think you're an inspiration to a lot of the young people from Tottenham. And if you were to take yourself back to the age of 21, what advice would you give to yourself?
I think I was telling someone the other day, I was listening to the new Nines album, One Foot Out, and like on one of his tracks, I think it's Breakaway, he says like not everyone's meant to be a rapper, footballer or trapper, and there's an alternative route. So for me, like I identified with my friends and myself that everyone really at their core had the entrepreneurial spirit, but that can manifest itself in so many ways. Some people might become drug dealers, but actually what they're doing is buying low, selling high. They understand the importance of customer retention. They understand the basic economics. That's the same as even being a trader in the city, let alone being the same as being an entrepreneur. So I recognized that at a young age, and I was able to leverage that kind of entrepreneurial spirit, first as a management consultant for Ernst & Young, then later on in my career now as a product manager, but also when I started my own startup in Mixtape Madness a few years ago. It just depends how you leverage your skill set and what you're really willing to take in terms of risk and reward. So if I was on the road, the risk would be my life that I'm risking of going to jail. And the upside is that I might become 100,000 unless my mentor is Pablo Escobar, which is 1 in a million. Whereas actually within the city, working at work, I take a very limited risk because I'm risking a company's capital, a company's reputation, but the upside is limitless. So that's the way I see it. It's all about risk and return. And for me, it just makes sense to do what I'm doing and leverage my skill set in this way.
Honestly, that was so many nuggets there. Follow this guy, follow his journey. He's on Instagram. As I said, I'll have all his details there. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Work Smarter Talk Show. And yeah, remember to work smarter. Take care. God bless.